I just wanted to go on this little baby rant about Rachel Zegler, Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investments.
Rachel Zegler is a loudmouth dope.
Snow White producer's son blames Rachel Zegler for poor box office.
She has this underlying anger and hatred in her that always has to take it like one step too far. So first and foremost, if you're going to be cast as Snow White, maybe appreciate the original Snow White.
Great, okay? It's great. I'm honored. I don't know why I sound so angry right now. I'm honored. Am I a psychopath?
God forbid a woman dream about true love. We're all just sitting around here, oh, maybe I could be president one day. I hate men, I just want to be president.
Disney's new Snow White remake didn't just flop. It exploded into one of the most controversial messes the studio has ever faced. Fans are outraged. The lead actress is under fire. And the film? It's being called an embarrassment, even by diehard Disney lovers. So what went so wrong? Was it the casting, the political statements, or was the movie doomed from the start?
And very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this.
I just have to note the smugness and superiority on this 23, 25, something like that, girl's face. Young, a little bit of humility, you know? This is a story that's been around for a long, long time. You're not improving on it. So they took out the famous theme song, Someday My Prince Will Come, because it's not fair for a woman to live for love or want to find love or want to find a prince. They were not going to do that anymore, and they replaced it with the far more catchy song, this typical girl power anthem.
This isn't just a failed reboot. It's a warning sign for Disney's entire future. And in the next few minutes, we're breaking down exactly how a fairy tale turned into a full-blown PR disaster. Trust me. You'll want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. When Disney announced that Rachel Zegler would be playing Snow White, the internet went into a frenzy, but not the kind Disney was hoping for. Zegler, known for her breakout role in West Side Story, is a Colombian-American actress. And although she's incredibly talented, many die-hard fans felt that casting a Latina actress to play Snow White, who has historically been portrayed as having skin as white as snow, was too far of a departure from the original 1937 character. The backlash was immediate. Social media lit up with accusations that Disney was virtue signaling, and even mainstream media outlets reported on the growing discontent. Zegler later addressed the controversy in an interview, saying, "People were angry. They were angry because I wasn't what they expected Snow White to look like."
I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats. When the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere, and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
But instead of calming things down, her statement fueled even more debate. Was this about race? Was it about authenticity? Or was it just the start of a project that was destined to collapse under the weight of its own modern agenda? But the drama didn't stop at casting. Oh no, it got worse. Much worse. In a series of promotional interviews, Rachel Zegler began openly criticizing the original Snow White film. She called it weird, and said the prince was a guy who literally stalks her.
Not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Before bluntly stating that she didn't think the love story was necessary. She even added that Snow White is not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love anymore. Wait, what? This is Snow White we're talking about, the foundation of Disney's princess empire. For many, this sounded less like a modern take, and more like a complete disowning of the character's origins. Fans didn't want a feminist lecture. They wanted magic, romance, and nostalgia. And instead, they got what some were calling a woke re-education. As Zegler's clips went viral, the backlash hit an all-time high, with thousands of fans pledging to boycott the movie before it even hit theaters. If that wasn't enough to stir the pot, Zegler's political activity only made things worse. In the lead-up to the 2024 U.S. election, she tweeted "Free Palestine" and made blunt anti-Trump remarks. After Trump won the presidency again, she tweeted, "Waking up in America feels like a nightmare." Now, whether you agree with her politics or not, there's no denying that this poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Critics accused her of alienating a massive portion of the audience. And just when Disney desperately needed damage control, Zegler doubled down instead of backing off. Eventually, after a storm of bad press, she issued an apology, saying she hadn't meant to offend anyone. But by then, the narrative was out of Disney's hands. The court of public opinion had already made its judgment. And it was brutal. Behind the scenes, things weren't much better. The live-action Snow White faced intense scrutiny for its depiction, or rather, its reimagining of the Seven Dwarfs. Disney, wanting to avoid stereotypes, announced they would be using CGI and hiring actors of various ethnicities and body types instead of little people. Peter Dinklage, an actor with dwarfism, was one of the first to speak out, calling Disney's decision a backward step under the illusion of progress. In an attempt to avoid offense, Disney had ended up offending even more people. They tried to correct course by consulting advocacy groups, but it came off as too little, too late. The damage was done. Even the film's visual effects and sets were criticized. Audiences described the CGI as lifeless, the costumes as cheap, and the direction as soulless. What was supposed to be a magical fairy tale now felt like a political lecture wrapped in bad green screen. So, what happens when you alienate your core fanbase, stir political drama, and strip a story of everything that made it iconic? You get a box office disaster. The film reportedly cost over $270 million to make, and Disney was counting on it to be a summer blockbuster. But instead, Snow White stumbled out of the gate with a pitiful $43 million opening weekend, followed by a steep drop-off to $14.2 million the next week. Analysts predict the film will lose over $115 million, a gut punch for a studio that once dominated the global box office. And this wasn't just a financial failure, it was a reputational one. Once the gold standard in family entertainment, Disney is now seen by some as out of touch, overly political, and creatively bankrupt. Disney execs didn't wait long to react. Just weeks after Snow White's flop, rumors started circulating that other upcoming live-action remakes, like Tangled, were being quietly shelved or pushed back indefinitely. Internally, sources say Disney is reevaluating its entire live-action strategy. The company that once banked on nostalgia is now being forced to ask tough questions about its future. Will audiences still trust Disney to handle their favorite classics? Or has the studio gone so far off course that even its most magical stories can't bring them back? Disney's Snow White remake wasn't just a film, it was a cultural moment, and not in the way they intended. What began as a bold reimagining turned into a cautionary tale about the dangers of ignoring your audience, injecting too much politics into art, and losing the essence of what made a story timeless. Now, the question is, can Disney bounce back? Or is this the beginning of a darker era for the Magic Kingdom? Let us know what you think in the comments. Was the backlash justified? Did the film deserve better? And should Disney keep making live-action remakes at all? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our next deep dive into Hollywood's biggest blunders. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes even fairy tales can turn into nightmares.